Hi, so I just wanted to talk about my experiences with my postnatal mental health, and specifically, I had intrusive thoughts, and at the time, I didn't know that's what they were called. I just, I knew there was something wrong, and I remember kind of my daughter's 4.5 now, actually, but it was about 3 days after she was born, and I remember it clearly, kind of leaping out of bed in a just sheer panic, crying because I'd had this thought that, that was just awful. I thought, what about if I don't love her? What about if I was to harm her? And it was just horrendous because it was a completely alien to me. I've kind of had this. I've got an older son as well, and so I had this identity of like being a good mum, and it just kind of made me think, well, I can't be, can I? Because only an awful person would have these, terrible thoughts, and I didn't understand what was happening to me. I thought, well, I must have just become a bad person overnight, and I didn't know, what was going on. And I think the worst thing was, I just couldn't talk to anyone about it. I couldn't talk to my husband. I couldn't talk to my GP. I didn't talk to my mum about it, and and I ended up kind of at crisis point. I remember going to A&E. I sat there, I think, probably, I don't know, about 10 hours. I sat there waiting to see the on-call psychiatrist, and I kind of, and even at that point, I still couldn't bring myself to speak, properly open up about these thoughts because I was so scared. I thought they might refer me to social services, it might take my children away. It was just, unbearable. But I did eventually get a referral to a perinatal psychiatrist, and I remember kind of just making a decision to just, tell her everything that I'd been thinking, to be honest. And she said to me, I remember so clearly, she said, I see women like you every day with these intrusive thoughts. And I always think of that point as, the beginning of my recovery, because it enabled me to kind of think, okay, it's not a representation of me as a person, these awful thoughts. It's a symptom. The only thing it means is that I'm ill. It doesn't mean, anything about me as a mum or as a person. And I think, so from that point onwards, that I was able to kind of, read about these intrusive thoughts and understand them a bit more and rationalise them and kind of intellectualise them and know, they stopped having that like emotional weight, that emotional impact, because I knew what they were. And I think of all the things, of all the symptoms of postnatal illness, I think maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like that they're probably one of the hardest to open up about and to talk about, because, they're so scary and you're so worried. You kind of think, oh, your family will turn against you. Your children will get taken away from you, and it's just so scary and terrifying. But I think if we can start talking about those intrusive thoughts, and people who've experienced them can talk about them, it will kind of they will become part of the conversation about like perinatal mental health, and I think then perhaps if people knew what they were, that might help. If you were to experience one, you would think, okay, well, I know what this is now because I've read about this or I've heard about this, and it might take away some of that kind of sheer just terror I remember feeling, when I experienced them for the first time. And at least I think if we were to know, if people were to know what they were, I mean, they'd still be awful, but you would be able to an extent, maybe rationalise them and understand what was going on, instead of just thinking, oh, I'm like an evil person, I've become a bad person, I'm a terrible mother. So I think it's just really important. Like, it was really scary. It's really difficult to make this video and talk about, the fact that I had this experience of intrusive thoughts. But I hope that it can kind of help someone if they've experienced them and don't know what they are. And the other thing I just quickly wanted to say is that although it was that whole kind of period, I think from getting ill to recovery, or to really being well on the way to recovery, was kind of probably almost a year, I'd say. But and that period was difficult, really difficult. The hardest thing I'd gone through, But now, having come out the other side, I feel really, it's cheesy, but it isn't, because it's true. Like, I am a better person, and I'm a more kind of empathetic person. I just never take anything for granted, because it's so, I don't know, like, I'm just so proud of myself for getting through that horrible time. And I think I hope it will be helpful for people to know that you might feel awful when you're in like the midst of it, but when you come out the other side, which you will, it can actually. I've spoken to lots of other mums about this, and they've said, they feel like they're a better person for it, although it was awful. They're a lot more understanding, and just a nicer person, and enjoy life more, really, because you know what it's like to not be enjoying life and not to be having lovely times with your children. Obviously, being a mum is really hard even now, like when I'm not ill, but it does help me, I think, to appreciate the good times with my children. And so I guess, like, take home point of this is just, I hope that people can start talking about intrusive thoughts, and I think they need to become more a part of the conversation, so that new mums and people experiencing postnatal illness will say, oh yeah, okay, I mean, that's what it is. I know what it is because I've read about it, and it would take away some of the fear, I think, and it's a scary thing to experience, definitely. I hope that helped anyway. Okay, thanks. Bye.